Have you ever imagined walking through a town where every street, every house, every corner feels forgotten? Where the wind carries whispers of lives that once were, and the silence presses on your chest like it's alive? Visiting these abandoned places isn't just eerie, it's unsettling, almost personal. You can't help but wonder, what stories would these empty walls tell if they could speak? If you're enjoying this journey through America's abandoned places, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Traveling Guide Hub for more real and mysterious adventures. 1. Centralia, Pennsylvania. The ground hums beneath your feet. The air feels thick and heavy, pressing in like it's watching. Footsteps echo behind you, but when you turn, no one is there. A faint creak drifts from the cracked pavement, almost like the town itself is breathing. Centralia, Pennsylvania has been abandoned for decades, yet it's far from silent. Long ago, Centralia was a bustling coal town, full of families, schools, and small businesses. Coal wasn't just work, it was life. Everything changed in 1962 when a fire ignited deep in the underground coal mines. What should have been small and controllable spread through the tunnels and never went out. Streets cracked, homes were abandoned, and slowly most residents left. The fire still burns beneath the surface, a danger unseen but undeniable. Walking its empty streets now feels unlike anywhere else. No cars, no voices, just weeds swaying where houses once stood. Some visitors say the silence presses in, heavy and almost suffocating. One person froze mid-step, certain someone was behind them, then realized only empty lots and cracked concrete stretched into the distance. A low, unexplainable humming drifts through certain areas. Phones die, radios cut out for a few seconds. Dizziness hits without warning, and the ground sometimes feels warm under your feet. One visitor even swore they saw a shadow shift across a lot just at the corner of their vision, vanishing when they turned. Former residents remember feeling that same warmth on cold days. They talk about a strange mix of familiarity and unease, like the town remembers them, even though most of it is gone. Some visitors report subtle sounds too, a distant whistle, a soft creak, almost imperceptible but chilling if you notice it. No clear cause, no explanation, just the eerie sense that the place has its own life. Centralia doesn't need to scare anyone. The danger is real, documented, ongoing, but what lingers most is discomfort. A feeling that the town holds on to memory, history, and energy long after the streets emptied. People leave carrying a strange weight, a sense that this town refuses to fully let go. If you were standing there right now, on cracked concrete, with the hum beneath your feet and silence pressing down, would you dare to step forward, or would you turn back, knowing the ground might remember your footsteps long after you've gone? 2. Pitcher, Oklahoma. The ground cracks under your feet, dust rising in soft clouds with every step. The wind whistles through empty streets, carrying a faint metallic tang that makes your skin crawl. Doors hang open on abandoned houses, creaking even when no one is near. Pitcher, Oklahoma has been empty for years, but some say the town still watches. Once, Pitcher was a thriving lead and zinc mining town, full of families, schools, and stores. Miners worked long days underground, shaping the town's identity around black dust and hard labor. But decades of unchecked mining left a dangerous legacy. By the late 20th century, the ground became unstable, contaminated with toxic metals. The government declared the area uninhabitable. Homes were bought out, streets emptied, businesses closed. Today, Pitcher stands as a ghost town, scarred by its own prosperity. Walking through the town now, the silence is unnerving. No laughter, no cars, just wind passing through rusted playgrounds and empty storefronts. Some visitors describe a heavy pressure in the chest, making every step feel slower, almost deliberate. faint scraping, metallic thumps echo from abandoned buildings, almost like something or someone is moving inside. One visitor froze mid-step, certain a shadow slipped behind a broken fence, but when they turned, only weeds and cracked concrete stretched before them. A subtle bitterness lingers here. Dust from the old mines still glitters faintly under the sun. Phones lose signal, radios flicker, dizziness hits without warning. The ground sometimes feels warm underfoot. One hiker even swore they heard a faint metallic whisper, barely at the edge of hearing, disappearing when they strained to listen. And then a sudden clatter from a distant building, quick, sharp, gone before they could turn. Former residents remember that same warmth on cold days. They speak of a strange mix of familiarity and unease, like the town remembers them even though most of it is gone. Some visitors report subtle sounds too, a distant clank, a soft groan of timber, almost imperceptible but chilling if you notice it. No clear cause, no explanation, just the feeling that the town lives in its own quiet, unyielding way. Picture doesn't need to frighten. Its eeriness is slow, quiet, unavoidable. The danger is real, but the emotional weight is heavier. Every abandoned house, every empty street feels like it remembers the people who left. Walking here, you can't shake the sense that this town has a memory of its own. If you were standing in the middle of Pitcher right now, hearing the whistle of the wind and faint clatters from buildings long abandoned, would you dare to keep moving forward, or would you stop, sensing some places are meant to stay behind in the past? 3. Gary, Indiana. A sudden metallic clang echoes through the empty street, making you flinch. The wind whistles, carrying the scent of rust and old concrete. Windows gape like hollow eyes on abandoned buildings. Footsteps seem to follow, but when you turn, no one is there. Gary, Indiana doesn't just look abandoned, it feels abandoned, as if the city itself is holding its breath, watching. Once, Gary was alive. Founded in 1906 to house steel mill workers, it thrived with families, shops, and the clang of factories shaping daily life. But by the late 20th century, industry declined. Factories closed, jobs disappeared, crime increased. Slowly, blocks emptied, homes were abandoned, schools shuttered. The city that once roared with life now whispers through its empty streets. Walking through Gary, small things stand out first. Doors swinging in the wind, mailboxes overtaken by weeds, the distant creak of a sign swaying on a rusted pole. One visitor paused mid-step, convinced they saw movement inside an empty house, only to find it was the wind. Another described a weight pressing on their shoulders, making every breath feel heavier. Somewhere between the cracked pavement and rusting steel, the town seems aware of your presence. A sudden soft thud from an abandoned building startles you mid-step, a reminder that the town carries echoes of its past. Phones lose signal, radios buzz with static, the smell of old steel lingers, almost like a memory of the factories that built the city. Shadows move differently here, shifting just beyond the corner of your eye. Some visitors describe a feeling of time slowing, as if Gary exists in two eras at once, one frozen in the industrial boom, the other decaying in the present. It's easy to imagine the voices of children playing, the hum of machinery, the footsteps of workers, all layered under the silence of today. Gary doesn't need to scare you. Its eeriness is quiet, slow, unavoidable. Danger may no longer be physical, but the emotional weight presses on anyone walking its streets. Every empty house, every deserted avenue feels like a memory holding on to its people, refusing to let go completely. If you were standing in the middle of Gary's empty avenues, listening to the wind whistle through shattered windows, hearing the faint thud behind a door, and feeling the ground echo beneath your feet, Would you keep walking forward, or would you pause, sensing that some places carry the lives of the past long after everyone has gone? 4. East St. Louis, Illinois. A sudden crack echoes from a broken streetlight, startling you as you step onto the cracked pavement. The wind whistles between empty buildings, carrying the faint scent of damp concrete and rust. Windows gape like hollow eyes. Every abandoned doorway seems to watch. East St. Louis, Illinois doesn't just look deserted. It feels heavy, almost alive, like the city remembers everyone who once walked these streets. East St. Louis thrived in the early 20th century as a bustling industrial hub. Factories, railroads, and shipping brought work and families. Neighborhoods were full of life, music spilling from porches, children playing in the streets. But decades of economic decline, racial tension, and industrial closures slowly emptied the city. Buildings were abandoned, schools closed, streets fell silent. Today, only fragments of its past remain, hollow shells of homes, factories frozen in time. Walking through East St. Louis now, you notice the silence first. No engines, no voices, just the wind rustling through overgrown weeds. Some visitors describe feeling a presence, as if unseen eyes are tracking every step. One person froze near a crumbling porch, certain someone was behind them, only to find an empty street. Doors swing in the breeze with a sharp clang that echoes unnervingly, sending shivers down your spine. A faint whistle rises from a distant alley, soft but piercing in the quiet. Shadows shift unexpectedly. Every corner seems slightly different from the last. Phones drop signal intermittently. Radios buzz with static. The smell of old steel lingers, like a memory refusing to fade. Visitors report a subtle weight on their chest, a pressure that makes each step feel slower. Some say time stretches here. Footsteps echo longer than they should. It's easy to imagine the families, the workers, the children layered beneath the silence of today. Every building, every cracked sidewalk carries a story the city won't release. East St. Louis doesn't try to frighten. Its eeriness is quiet, reflective, unavoidable. Danger may no longer be physical, but the emotional weight presses on anyone walking its streets. The city feels like a memory holding on to its people, refusing to let go completely. If you were standing there right now, hearing the wind whistle through broken windows, catching the faint clink of metal from a distant alley, feeling the weight of silence pressing on your chest, would you walk forward through the empty streets, or would you pause, knowing some places keep the past alive long after everyone has left? 5. Paradise, California. A sudden snap of a broken branch echoes through the silent street, making you jump as the wind rustles through charred trees. The air smells of ash and damp earth, heavy with smoke that never fully leaves. Windows of abandoned homes stare like empty eyes. Paradise, California doesn't just look destroyed, it feels haunted, as if the land remembers everything it lost. Paradise was once a thriving town in Northern California. Families lived here, schools filled with laughter, small businesses lined the streets. Life was ordinary until November 2018, when the campfire swept through, consuming nearly everything in hours. Homes, shops, schools, forests, gone. Over 85 people died. Thousands were displaced. The town was nearly erased from the map. Streets that once echoed with laughter now lie silent, with only charred reminders of life remaining. Walking the streets today, the silence is overwhelming. No birds, no engines, no voices, just wind through burned-out trees and overgrown yards. Visitors describe an almost tangible heaviness pressing down on their shoulders. One person froze mid-step, sure someone was walking behind them, only to see blackened earth and ash-covered pavement. A faint metallic clang from a fallen mailbox startles the senses further. Some say the air carries whispers, too faint to understand, but enough to raise goosebumps. Phones often lose signal. Radios crackle briefly, then die. Shadows shift oddly across charred walls. From a half-collapsed roof, a sudden creak echoes sharply, and for a moment you feel the town is alive. The scent of smoke lingers in every corner. Locals speak quietly of an unease that never leaves, a sense that the town itself grieves its lost people, homes, and forests. Time feels strange here. Moments stretch. Silence deepens unnaturally. Every crack in the pavement feels like it holds a memory. Visitors report dizziness or sudden chills in certain areas, as if the very land is warning them to move carefully, to remember. The ruins are silent storytellers, showing glimpses of lives interrupted, families displaced, and a community scarred forever. Paradise doesn't try to frighten, it simply exists as a reminder. Danger may no longer be fire, but the weight of loss, absence, and memory presses on anyone who walks its streets. The town remembers, and anyone who enters feels it, a heavy, quiet pull that won't let go. If you were standing there right now, surrounded by blackened homes and trees stripped bare, feeling the weight of silence pressing on your chest, hearing the faint snap of a branch or the rustle of ash underfoot, would you continue forward through the ruins, or would you pause, knowing some places carry the grief of the past long after the flames are gone?
6. Slab City, California. A sudden scrape of metal echoes from a distant shack, making you flinch as you step onto the cracked desert sand. The wind carries the dry, dusty scent of the California sun, mixed with faint chemical tangs from rusted vehicles and decaying structures. Slab City doesn't just look abandoned, it feels like it exists outside of time, a place forgotten by the world, yet alive in its own strange way. Slab City began as a military base during World War II, Camp Dunlap, housing soldiers training in the harsh desert. After the base was decommissioned, concrete slabs were all that remained, hence the name. Over the decades, squatters, artists, and travelers turned it into a small off-grid community. Today, most visitors come for the eeriness. Many structures lie empty, abandoned, sun-bleached. The town feels both alive and deserted all at once. Walking through the slabs, the silence is uncanny. No engines, no voices, just wind rattling tin roofs and sand shifting underfoot. Visitors often report a strange heaviness in the air, as if the desert itself is watching. One person froze mid-step, certain footsteps echoed behind them, only to find sand drifting with the wind. A faint metallic clink from a rusted car snaps your senses further. Some say the air carries whispers, not human, but enough to make the hairs on your neck rise. Radios and phones lose signal unexpectedly. Shadows stretch across the concrete slabs, moving subtly with the sun. A sudden gust flips a weathered tarp with a sharp snap, making you jump. Then, from a nearby collapsed shack, a small pile of debris rattles, tin roofing clattering on top, echoing through the empty desert, sending a jolt through anyone nearby. Locals speak of the uncanny sense that the desert remembers everyone who lived here, and that the slabs themselves hold on to memory. Time feels distorted in Slab City. Moments stretch. Silence deepens unnaturally. A building that looked solid from afar seems hollow and fragile up close. The sun blazes overhead, yet some corners feel unnaturally cold. Visitors report a mix of awe and unease, sensing both freedom and abandonment, like stepping into a place that exists outside the rules of the normal world. Slab City doesn't try to frighten, it simply exists as a reminder of impermanence.
Danger may not be immediate, but the emotional weight of desolation presses on anyone walking these empty spaces. The concrete remembers, the desert remembers, and you feel it. If you were standing there now, feeling the crunch of sand underfoot, hearing the scrape of metal or the sudden snap of a tarp or the clatter of debris in the distance, would you continue exploring the slabs, or would you pause, sensing that some places hold memories no one can fully leave behind?
7. Whittier, Alaska. Fog rolls over the icy waters of Prince William Sound. A sharp wind whistles between the mountains, carrying an almost human whisper. You step into Whittier, Alaska. The quiet presses on your chest. The town feels frozen in time. Whittier was built in the early 1940s as a military port and logistics hub. Its purpose: to connect Alaska's interior through railroads and shipping routes. Most of the town's residents live in one building, Baggage Towers. 14 stories of apartments, a school, even a post office, all under one roof. Outside, the rest of the town is sparse. Warehouses, rusting docks, empty lots stretch toward the water. Isolation dominates here. It shapes life as much as the icy wind. Walking through the streets, history hits like a weight. Rusting docks lean into silence. Abandoned warehouses whisper of decades long gone. You can almost see soldiers and townsfolk bustling about, unaware that their footsteps would echo into emptiness decades later. Visitors report sensations that are hard to explain. Footsteps echo through Baggage Towers even when no one else is around. Doors creak open on their own. The air feels heavy, cold, pressing. Fog rolls in thick and sudden. Visibility drops to a few feet, and for a moment you think you hear whispers carried by the wind. Locals say the mountains watch, the town holds its breath. One visitor stood near the old port. The temperature dropped suddenly. The ground vibrated softly under their feet. Nothing explained it. Equipment showed normal readings, but the feeling lingered. Another reported seeing shadows move across abandoned lots, only to vanish when looked at directly. Subtle, fleeting, yet deeply unsettling. Whittier doesn't try to scare you. Its power comes from isolation, from silence, from the knowledge that life has moved on. The town exists suspended between history and emptiness. Even the residents, tucked away in Baggage Towers, feel the pressure of quiet. A town can be alive without movement, alive in memory, in whispers, in the wind that presses against your ears. As you leave Whittier, the quiet lingers. It settles in your chest. The mountains watch. The fog clings to your thoughts. You can't shake the feeling that the town remembers everyone who walked its streets. Would you dare live there, knowing solitude and silence could weigh heavier than any fear? And if you did, would you ever really be alone?
8. Kalaupapa, Hawaii. Kalaupapa, Hawaii sits on a narrow strip of land along the northern coast of Molokai. Towering cliffs rise nearly 1,600 feet above the Pacific Ocean. Isolation here is absolute. In the late 1800s, this became a settlement for people diagnosed with Hansen's disease, leprosy. Those sent here were forcibly relocated, cut off from family, friends, the wider world. Entire lives were built behind these cliffs, in small houses and simple communities, with only the ocean and mountains as companions. Over time, medical advances and social changes reduced the population. Most of the town was abandoned. Today, only a handful of residents remain. Much of the area feels frozen in both history and sorrow, a time capsule of lives interrupted. The moment you arrive, the weight of the past feels almost physical. The wind carries salt and something older, memories of lives lived in exile. Walking the narrow paths between cliffs, you notice empty homes with faded paint, rusting tools, personal items left behind, as if someone simply stepped away and never returned. Visitors speak of strange, eerie sensations, sudden chills under the Hawaiian sun. Footsteps echo along abandoned paths, though no one is in sight. A strange stillness presses down, as if time itself moves differently here. Faint murmurs drift on the wind, soft enough to make you question whether you imagined them or if the cliffs themselves are holding stories. Even locals feel it, a weight in the air, a reminder of lives forced into exile. One person stood near the old dock, staring at the endless ocean. The hair on their arms prickled. A pressure seemed to press down from the cliffs above. Nothing to see, nothing to hear, yet the feeling of being watched or remembered remained. Shadows flit across empty windows. Fog rolls in from the ocean, thick, almost tangible, suspending the peninsula somewhere between reality and memory. Kalaupapa doesn't frighten with theatrics. Its unease comes from history, from human suffering etched into the land, from isolation that modern life has mostly forgotten. The town whispers quietly in the sway of palm trees, the crash of waves, the stillness that hangs over abandoned homes. As you leave Kalaupapa, the cliffs seem to close behind you, leaving a silence that is both beautiful and haunting. Memories of the exiled linger in the wind. You can't help but wonder, how much of a place's soul survives when almost everyone is forced to leave? Would you have the strength to walk its paths, carrying the weight of history and the echoes of lives that could never return?
9. Tonopah, Nevada. A dry wind whips across the dusty streets of Tonopah, Nevada, carrying the scent of sand, rust, and something older, history itself. Rusting mining equipment leans at odd angles, and wooden buildings creak as if tired of standing. Tonopah doesn't just look abandoned, it feels suspended between two eras, caught between the memory of silver-fueled glory and the quiet emptiness of decay. Founded in the early 1900s, Tonopah boomed almost overnight after silver was discovered beneath the desert floor. Prospectors poured in, building homes, saloons, and hotels. For a brief time, the town thrived, alive with ambition and sweat. But the silver veins ran dry. Families left, businesses closed, and streets fell silent. Today, Tonopah wears its history like a ghostly coat, and every corner seems to whisper the stories of those who once walked its streets. Walking through the town, you notice the small things first. A door swinging slowly in the wind, a shattered window reflecting the sun, the faint echo of footsteps that aren't yours. One visitor told of standing near the old Mizpah Hotel, the desert heat pressing down, when a sharp metallic clang rang out from the empty structure. The sound had no source, yet it lingered in their chest like a warning. Another spoke of a fleeting shadow near an abandoned saloon, gone when they blinked, but enough to make them shiver. There's a heaviness here, subtle but inescapable. The air feels dense, as if every miner, every prospector, every hand that once shaped this town has left a memory behind. Some report sudden chills in the sun-baked streets, faint murmurs carried by the wind, or a strange sense of being watched. The desert keeps its secrets well, and Tonopah feels like a living diary written in silence and dust. Tonopah doesn't need theatrics to unsettle you. Its eeriness comes from reality, isolation, abandonment, and the weight of dreams built and lost in the pursuit of wealth. Even the skeptics feel it, the pull of memory, the whisper of the past brushing against their skin. As the sun dips behind the distant mountains, shadows stretch long over the empty streets. The wind carries the desert's silence, heavy and unyielding. You can't help but wonder,
How much of a place lingers when everyone has gone? And if you walked these streets alone, would you feel it too? The echo of lives that refuse to fade completely. 10. Williston, North Dakota. A sudden gust of wind rattles loose shutters, lifting dust into the empty streets. The air smells of dry earth and faded paint. You step into the outskirts of Williston, North Dakota, and the quiet presses down like something alive. These streets don't just look abandoned, they feel forgotten, like life moved on and left them behind. Williston once thrived quietly on agriculture and railroads. Then, in the mid-2000s, the oil boom changed everything. Workers poured in, temporary housing sprouted overnight, neighborhoods expanded fast. But when oil prices fell, projects stalled and jobs vanished. Entire streets emptied, homes were boarded up, businesses closed. Now the fringes of the town feel like ghost towns, silent witnesses to human ambition that rose and fell almost overnight. Walking here, the stillness is overwhelming. No engines, no voices, just wind whispering across empty lots. Every step feels heavier than the last. Doors creak open in abandoned homes, though no one is there. Faint echoes of footsteps seem to follow, only to vanish when you turn. Even wildlife seems scarce, as if nature itself hesitates to tread these empty corners. Some visitors say the air is thick, almost tangible, a subtle pressure that slows your movements. Others notice shadows shifting at the edge of their vision, or hear distant clinks and creaks from houses left behind. The feeling is unnerving, not because danger is present, but because the emptiness carries memory. Every abandoned lot, every cracked sidewalk, tells the story of fleeting human dreams. Williston doesn't try to scare you. Its eeriness comes from truth, rapid construction, sudden collapse, and the silence that follows. The town itself feels aware, holding on to the echoes of those who once walked its streets. The wind carries their history, brushing against your ears as you move forward. If you were standing there now, walking through these empty streets, hearing shutters rattle and faint footsteps that vanish into nothing, would you continue forward, or would you pause, feeling the weight of lives that came, thrived, and vanished almost overnight? These abandoned places in the U.S. aren't just empty streets or crumbling buildings. They're echoes of lives once lived, dreams built and lost, and history that refuses to be forgotten. Each town tells a story through its silence, its shadows, and the subtle unease that hangs in the air. Walking these roads, or even imagining them, reminds us how fragile life and communities can be. As the wind whispers through deserted homes and rusted structures, one question remains. If you stood alone in one of these towns, would you feel the weight of its history pressing on your shoulders too?